In modern cybersecurity, finding a massive system flaw is supposed to be a heroic act. But when you report that vulnerability to an institution that lacks technical literacy, you often go from being a defender to a scapegoat. Alberto Daniel Hill is the embodiment of this paradox. He is a computer engineer and a highly credentialed cybersecurity expert, having served as a digital forensic examiner for both the Supreme Court of Uruguay and Interpol. In 2017, this trajectory came to a sudden halt. During a case known as Operation Bitcoins, Hill found himself on the opposite side of the courtroom, becoming the first person in his country ever imprisoned for a computer-related crime. If a state investigator with Interpol credentials can be processed by the system this way, no ethical researcher is safe from institutional ignorance. Hill identifies the culprit as the Great Machine, an automated, unthinking state security apparatus that demands a processed body to justify its budget, regardless of objective truth. The evidence used against him was technically absurd. The prosecution presented a powered-off Samsung Galaxy S7 as an active, ongoing cyber threat to the state. Investigators also seized standard professional IT forensics equipment, like a 16-gigabyte flash drive, and cataloged it for the court as malicious criminal paraphernalia. They even submitted printed paper logs of dropped firewall connections as absolute proof of a hack, and characterized a standard office paper cutter as a guillotine to manufacture violent imagery for the local press. Forensic theater became the primary engine for Hill's conviction. His case demonstrates that for many researchers, responsible disclosure is simply a fast track to a prison cell. The human cost was devastating. Hill spent 8 months in preventive imprisonment in maximum security facilities, enduring conditions so severe they triggered a stress-induced, near-death medical coma. While he was incapacitated, the state's handling of his digital evidence caused total financial ruin. Law enforcement seized the 2-factor authentication seeds for his cryptocurrency wallets, and when a major exchange collapsed, his entire life savings of $100,000 vanished. Sitting in a cell, Hill realized that technical truth carries no weight in a courtroom that doesn't understand the internet. To survive the Great Machine, he could no longer act as a passive victim. He had to architect an entirely new defensive framework to hack the legal system from the outside. This diagram outlines the Asymmetric defense framework, a 4-protocol blueprint designed to empower and protect researchers who have been framed by the state. Step 1 is zero-contact disclosure. Researchers must bypass standard ticketing systems and use anonymous intermediaries to prevent the state from weaponizing their identity against them. Step 2 requires decentralized reputation firewalls. You archive the technical truth on immutable ledgers before the state corporate machine can control the public narrative. Step 3 is the proxy pivot. When local institutions bury a breach, you trigger international data laws like GDPR via proxy EU residents, forcing corporate accountability across borders. Step 4 is the spoliation ultimatum. You bypass technical arguments by framing forensic contamination as civil custodial theft, holding the state financially liable for the value of the assets they mishandled. This playbook works because it attacks the system on the only fronts it actually understands: public reputation, international compliance, and financial liability. Hill calls his counteroffensive the flap wings, his effort to soar above the crushing weight of the state machine by weaponizing global media. He chose a strategy of radical transparency, taking his case directly to over 250,000 security specialists via the Darknet Diaries podcast and the Chaos Computer Club, completely bypassing the silent press in Uruguay. This transparency extended to his music. In his CYBERMIDNIGHT CLUB project, Hill encoded his entire autobiography and forensic evidence into tracks like Summer of Love, ensuring his story was immortalized in a form the state could never censor. Radical transparency proves that the ultimate vulnerability of a corrupt system is public exposure at scale. You cannot quietly erase a narrative that has been downloaded 1 million times. Hill is no longer just defending himself. He now operates decentralized intelligence networks to protect young researchers from the same interrogation techniques and forensic fabrications he endured. He is an active advocate for the Hacking is Not a Crime movement, fighting for legal safe harbors so that digital curiosity is treated as a professional asset rather than a felony. The great machine may operate without empathy, but human resilience and absolute loyalty to the data will always engineer a path to victory. Data over drama.